Um, Namaste, good morning. Welcome to the second Ann Arbor Vedanta Symposium. We are delighted that you could join us this morning. We are very honored to have amidst us some very distinguished speakers who will speak on Vedanta and ancient wisdom and modern education. Just a couple of lines about the Ann Arbor Vedanta Center. We are a group of people interested in Vedanta, in its study and practice, and our main activity is inviting speakers, mainly monks of the Ramakrishna order, to visit us here in Ann Arbor and speak to us and inspire us. We do have some ongoing classes as well. We would love it if you could participate. We will have a sign-in sheet going around if you'd like to know more about what we do. It's wonderful to see you all here. Welcome. And I will now request Ambuj to introduce the speakers, and hope you enjoy the day today.
Thank you, Sureshi. Thank you all for coming. I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker for the day, Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. He is the minister and spiritual leader of the Vedanta Society of New York, where he has been since January 2017. Prior to this, he served as assistant minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California. He joined the Ramakrishna Matan mission in 1994 and received sannyas in 2004. Before being posted to the Southern California's Hollywood Temple, Swamiji served as an acharya of the Monastic Probationers Training Center at Belur Math. He has served the Ramakrishna Matan mission in various capacities, including being the vice principal of the Deogarh Vidyapith Higher Secondary School, principal of the Shikshan Mandir Teacher Education College at Belur Math, and the first registrar of the Vivekananda University at Belur Math. So please welcome Swami Sarvapriyananda ji.
Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityur ma amritam gamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning, and it's wonderful to be back in Ann Arbor for this beautiful symposium organized here this morning. As you just heard, I have been on and off associated with education and teaching. I started off by teaching school kids in the Ramakrishna Mission Deogarh Vidyapith, and then I went on to teaching school teachers, and I was the principal of the Teachers Training College. Those from India, you know, B.Ed college, as we say, Teachers Training College in Belur Math. And then I went on to the university, and then I finally, I was teaching novice monks. So I've been teaching. I remember once, there was a symposium in the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture in Kolkata, and I was giving this talk. I quoted from Bernard Shaw, who says, those who can, I mean, he's making fun of teachers. So he says, those who can, they do. Those who cannot, they teach. And those who cannot teach, teach teachers. I was the Teachers Training College, you know, so those who cannot teach, they teach teachers. And then somebody in the audience who knew I was the principal of the Teachers Training College, he said, those who cannot teach teachers, they become the principal of the Teachers Training College. But seriously though, spirituality and education in India have always been pretty close together. This beautiful handout which you have got, this brochure, is designed, by the way, by Pavani, who is in 4th grade. Here you see what you see here are the ruins of the Nalanda University, which is in northern India, in the state of Bihar. This was the first university in the world. They had 11,000 students. It was basically a Buddhist institution, but they taught all sorts of subjects. 11,000 students. Even now, if you go there, you can actually see each student had his, and yes, it was his because it was very patriarchal in those days. So they had his own room, you know. So 11,000 rooms. And it was a Buddhist institution, finally destroyed in around the 12th century. I visited Oxford once and I saw the oldest college in Oxford University, Balliol. It started in the 12th century. So when Oxford was just getting off the ground, just starting, this was ending. Spirituality and education have been closely connected in India. Advaita Vedanta, one might wonder how such an abstract philosophy, what does it have to do with modern education? Quite a lot, actually. In my time in the Teachers Training College in Belur Math in India, I had time to reflect on this, how theories of modern education can actually benefit from the insights of Advaita Vedanta. There are many aspects of Advaita Vedanta which can be applied to modern education, schools and colleges. In fact, there is a book, Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, A Way of Teaching. Professor Jacqueline Hurst, she's written this book, Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, A Way of Teaching. She says that in her introduction that people are very interested in what Advaita Vedanta has to teach, but that it's also a way of teaching, that thing gets ignored. But it's very interesting if you see how Advaita Vedanta accomplishes its purpose. The technique, the methodology of teaching, the approach it takes to education, it's all very interesting. So instead of talking in general about education and Advaita Vedanta, what I'm going to do is dive into the heart of the problem itself. Advaita Vedanta, it faces a particularly difficult problem. What is the problem and how does Advaita solve it? That's what I'm going to talk about. What is the core teaching of Advaita, Advaita Vedanta, and how is it given? How is it transmitted? That's what I'm going to talk about. And I'd invite you to do two things at the same time. Listen to the core teachings of Advaita, no matter, I guess most of you are familiar with Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, but still it's good to listen to it again and again. But do a second thing, a kind of meta-listening, because of the purpose of today's symposium, is that listen to it as a methodology of teaching, as a pedagogy. The subject I have set today is Beyond Words, Beyond Mind, Teaching the Ineffable, and Advaita Vedanta Pedagogy. It sounds very formal and abstruse, but actually it's fun. It's a lot of fun. What is the problem and how does Advaita Vedanta overcome it? We are aware of the central teaching of Advaita Vedanta, that we do not know ourselves as we truly are, the real nature of the self, which is Atman in Advaita Vedanta. Atman is nothing but you, yourself. We do not know ourselves as we truly are. And that is the source of all our problems, all our suffering, all the misery of the human condition, the limitations of the human condition. They're all because we do not know what a human being is. I do not know what I truly am. And what's worse is I think I know. That's what really prevents me from investigating it. Mark Twain, he said once in his inimitable way, he said, it's not what you do not know that gets you into trouble. It's what you think that it just ain't so. That's what gets you into trouble. So Advaita Vedanta says, if we would really know ourselves as we truly are, we would see that we are an immortal spirit, beyond death, beyond suffering. We would realize that. We are that right now. Sat Chit Ananda, absolute existence, absolute consciousness, absolute bliss. That's what we already are. Not knowing it, we are in what is called samsara, this world of becoming and suffering and strife and struggle. And if we would know it, then we would be free of suffering right here, right now. Now, immediately you see, I'm not going to do this throughout the talk, but just point out what the meta-listening is. Notice, this is what the message, the promise of Advaita Vedanta is, but notice how practical it is, because it immediately ties the subject to our daily condition. It promises a very practical result. That's what education should do. It should relate knowledge to the learner. And see, Advaita Vedanta is entirely about the learner, about you yourself, what you need, what we need right now. I remember as a young monk, as a novice, I questioned one of my teachers. I was reading American Pragmatism at that time. So the first question you ask is, what good is it? So I asked one of our senior monks, what good is Vedanta? And he said, what is the utility? And he said, it has the highest utility. The ultimate purpose of all our activities is to attain joy and satisfaction, happiness, whatever you call it, and to overcome suffering. And this is the only way of really, completely, forever overcoming, going beyond suffering and attaining peace and joy. So it has the highest practicality. This is what everything is for ultimately. This is what you do throughout the talk. Notice the difficulty and how, from a teacher's point of view, from a pedagogical point of view, how the difficulty is overcome. All right. So what is the central problem in Advaita Vedanta? The problem is that our real nature, the Atman, existence, consciousness, bliss, is said to be beyond words, beyond thought. Avang manasa gochara in Sanskrit, beyond language and beyond conception by the mind. If that is so, how do you teach it? After all, Advaita Vedanta, what is it except words? These are texts, Upanishads. The Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, they are words. And the words are attempting to express something that is not expressible by words. How do you teach the unteachable? How do you express the inexpressible? That is the central problem of Advaita Vedanta. Before I go on, you might be thinking, why is it beyond words? Why is it beyond thought? After all, you're using words. And after all, we are thinking about it. What's so difficult about thinking, I am pure consciousness, or I am being itself? Why is it beyond thought? Why is it beyond words? To put it briefly, Shankaracharya himself, in fact, he analyzes it in the commentary to the 7th mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. In the lead-in to that, he says, why is the ultimate reality about ourselves, why is it beyond language and beyond thought? What he does there is a bit of what today we might call the philosophy of language. He says, what can language do? How does language function? Language functions, it takes, I'm going to go for really fast here. So language requires one of five factors to work. If any one of these, which I'm going to mention, are present, then language can function. If none of them are present, then language cannot function. What are these 5 factors? One, he says, a class or a set. What you're going to talk about should belong to a larger class. You can use a class descriptor. In Sanskrit, he uses the word jati. So the classic example is a cow. A cow belongs to a particular species of animals. So you see a particular individual and you refer it to the universal. That is, this animal has the characteristics of that set of animals called cows. So this must be a cow. Class, if it belongs to a class, you can use the word for that class to refer to that individual. Doesn't work for the Atman, pure consciousness. It's beyond all characteristics. It does not work for the Atman because there is only one Atman, according to Advaita Vedanta. There is no class of, like a set. You have a set of cows and here's an individual. So you say this individual belongs to that set. No, because there is no set of Atman. There's only one reality. Advaita literally means non-dual, no second. So no class is possible, one. Second, language can work if you have something called a quality, an attribute, a distinguishing quality. You can say a tall man, you can say the yellow flower, you can say the red car. Look, you're using color or physical attributes or something to designate quality. Now, can you use that to talk about the Atman? You cannot, because it is nirguna, beyond attributes, beyond any kind of distinguishing quality or attribute. So that also will not work. Second, the Sanskrit word for that is guna. Because the Atman is beyond gunas, nirguna, you can't use a guna to talk about the Atman. Third, kriya, action. That car is blocking the driveway. Call the driver of that car, driver. How did you designate that person? By the activity, the function that person fulfills. You know, Alec is the AV guy. So call the AV guy. How do you, no, I'm not calling you. How do you designate Alec? By the activity that is called in Sanskrit kriya. But Atman is beyond activity. It is nishkriya. It does not fulfill any particular function. So beyond activity, nishkriya, you can't use an activity to designate or a function to designate the Atman. So we have dismissed jati, guna, kriya. Another way language functions is through relations. Call the teacher, talk to the teacher. The parents are going to talk to the teacher. So parent, children, teacher, students, they all stand in relation to each other. You can't be a parent unless you have children. You can't be a child unless you have a parent. You can't be a teacher unless you have students. So relations are always, in Sanskrit we say dvinishta. Two terms must be there to a relationship. At least two terms. But Advaita, non-dual, there is no second reality to this Atman Advaita Vedanta talks about. No second. If there is no second, what relationship can it have? How can it have any relationship with something? Because nothing else exists except the Atman in Advaita Vedanta. So relation also will not work. And the last one is convention. So you say, I name this person John or Ram. Why? Is it a class, or is it a quality, or is it an action? Nothing. I just conventionally, this person is henceforth to be called Ram or John. So can't we do that with the Atman? Call it Atman or Brahman or God? Even that will not work. A conventional designator, in Sanskrit it is called rudhi. That will not work. Why not? To make it work, you must point out the person being designated by that term. Suppose I say, that person is John. Your question will be, which person? Unless I can't say, I can't point it out, then the naming has not worked. You don't know what I mean. Similarly, the Atman is not an object which can be pointed out. Hence, you can't say, this is called Atman or Brahman or pure consciousness. You can't point it out. All five things which work for, which language depends upon, class, jati, guna, quality, kriya, function, sambandha, relation, and rudhi, conventional designator. None of them apply to the Atman. Hence, the Atman cannot be designated by language. Cannot be designated by language. Also, there is a related line of reasoning which shows why you cannot even think about it. You can't make it an object of your thought. If that is so, you can't think about it, it's not an object to the senses, you cannot talk about it, then how can you teach it? Do you see the problem? If you see the problem, the answer will make sense. Otherwise, it will seem like an exercise in futility. What are you trying to do? This is a problem. Then how do you teach such a thing? Our real nature, what we truly are, is beyond language, is beyond thought, beyond the senses. So isn't it something that's going to be purely speculative? Isn't it something that's going to be unknown and unknowable? And Vedanta says no. Notice one thing. There's one redeeming feature in this whole mess, that it is yourself. It is you. You are continuously revealed. You are being continuously revealed. You are there. You are you. Because of the nature that it is the Atman, the self, it is continuously self-revealed. The Sanskrit word is swaprakasha, self-revealed. Hence, though it cannot be known by the mind, though it cannot be known by language, it can still be intuitively caught. It's still there. It's continuously shining forth. It needs only to be distinguished from all that we have covered it up with, all that we are mistaking it for. Once the distinction is made clear, you are intuitively expected to grasp, I am this. Oh, this is what I am. Aham Brahmasmi. So that intuitive flash of realization, that is called Brahma Jnana, the knowledge of Brahman or the realization of Brahman in Advaita Vedanta. And this is what Advaita Vedanta is leading up to. And Advaita Vedanta has pedagogical processes, different methodologies of leading you up to this intuitive realization. Oh, this is what I am. And these different processes, they are all methods of teaching. And I'm going to talk about one such method very quickly because we don't have too much time. I'm going to talk about one such method very quickly, and then I'll throw it open for questions. Listen to the method. What am I going to do now? I've set up the stage. What is the problem? How they're going to solve it? And I'm going to give you one method of solving this problem. We are talking about enlightenment, God realization, becoming a Buddha, or whatever you call it. So listen carefully. One might just become enlightened also, who knows? It's not impossible. Or at least you will know enough to see how Advaita Vedanta is useful as a method of teaching also. And listen with those two things, the teaching of Advaita Vedanta and the meta aspect of it, the methodology being applied there. All right. So this is the core of what I'm going to say right now. I'm going to start now. One process which Advaita Vedanta uses to show us that we are not what we thought we were, but we are the Atman. We are pure being, pure awareness, pure bliss. This particular process which I've selected is from one of the Upanishads, from the Taittiriya Upanishad. It's the well-known process of the 5 layers of the individual. The 5 layers, from the most outward, most visible, most gross aspect to the innermost, subtlemost, the most subtle aspect of ourselves. It's like those nesting dolls, Russian nesting dolls. You have a doll and then you have another one in between, inside, another one inside, and so on. Like that, the idea is, because we do not realize that we are that pure awareness, or whatever Vedanta says, then Vedanta says, like any good teacher, the principle is from the near to the far, from the known to the unknown. So Vedanta starts with what is known to us. Vedanta says, all right, what do you think you are? What do you think you are? What do you feel you are? And we go, I am this. This is who I am, this body. So Vedanta says, oh, so you think that the Atman, the self, is the body? Yes, I guess so. Let's start there. Like any good teacher, start where the student is. The golden rule of teaching, near to far, known to unknown, from what is to what shall be. Body is the self. I am the body. Now, what Vedanta does is, the methodology of Vedanta is, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is, listen to the teachings. And listening is complete, you know. It's not passive listening, it's active listening, so that afterwards you can say back to others or to yourself, this is what the teacher said, or this is what the text said. Then listening is complete. Second, manana, which is thinking or reflection on what you have heard. You've already got the material, now you reflect upon it. What is this reflection? I know what you said, I know what the text said, but I have many questions now. I have many doubts. I don't get it. I have many objections to this. So you put forth your objections, give vent to your reactions to the teaching, and discuss it, maybe with the teacher, maybe with yourself, maybe with others. The texts also have many, many questions. Remember, even if you go back to Shankara, let alone the Upanishads, even if you go back to Shankara, 1400 years, 1500 years now, and this tradition has been attacked by its opponents, by the dualists especially, over 1,000 years of dialectics. So many kinds of questions, and they're all collected. And so whatever we can think of has probably been asked in some form. and the answers have been worked out. So you go through this phase of reflection, questioning. And this phase, the second phase, is complete. When do you know it's complete? When you begin to feel, I not only know the teaching, but now I'm beginning to get it. There is clarity. There is conviction. I get it. I understand. Yes, it is so. Then what else remains after understanding? Usually not in a classroom situation, not much more remains after understanding. But here, the problem is one might still feel that I understand it, but it's not a living reality to me yet. I mean, it's something theoretical, something philosophical. I have learned a clever philosophy, but so what? My life is still... You promised I will overcome suffering. I'm still suffering. You promised that I will attain peace and bliss. Not much of it. Now, earlier there was worldly problem and worldly suffering. Now there is philosophical problem and suffering also. So you have added to it. Why am I not enlightened? One more thing to do, to my to-do list. So to convert clarity into realization, the third stage is there, which is called nididhyasana or meditation. It's a process of assimilating the truth. What you have realized, what you have learned, and what you are convinced it's the truth. Make it into a living truth. Swami Vivekananda says that till it tingles with every drop of your blood, that it must be so. I am that. Today we will do at least two of those stages. One is listen to the teaching. Second is you reflect upon it, ask questions. We have about 30 minutes to enlightenment now. Whether I'm keeping a close eye on the clock. So the teaching goes like this. The Upanishad says, you think you're the body. Yes, let's start there. Notice something, that the body changes. You say, yeah, so? Notice, the body, when you were a baby at one time, the body was a young boy or girl at one time, a teenager at another time, a young person. And you say, I was that baby. I was the teenager. I was this young person. Now I'm this middle-aged person or the senior person. The body has changed so much. Tremendously so. Doctors will tell you that most of the cells of the body have been replaced again and again and again. And I feel I am the same. I am that one. And we say sometimes, how quickly time has passed. I remember being in high school, and now I'm retiring from my job. And I remember it so clearly. Now, notice how much the body has changed. And yet you feel you are the same person, the same being in this tremendously changing body. How can the unchanging and changing be the same thing? It's a simple point, but if you reflect upon it, how can you say, I am this body, and yet it changes completely, and yet I claim I am the same person, baby, little boy, or a girl, or teenager, young person, middle-aged, I am the same person. And yet the body is not at all the same. How can you both be same and not same? How can you both be changing and not changing? Think about it. One, changing, not changing. In Sanskrit, nishkriya, nirvikara, savikara. Nirvikara, unchanging. Savikara, with change. They cannot be the same thing. You, whatever you are, you can't be the changing body. Second, another thing. These are all, how do you deal with these? These are called yukti. Yukti means reasoning. First of all, one has to understand what the reasoning is. But it's not just reasoning. A better term is what the Buddhists use, pointers. Pointers. They are actually pointing to you something that's a reality, that we have made a mistake about and we have never examined it. That mistake is being pointed out. See it for yourself, in your experience. The second yukti, I'll use only 3 yuktis. Second yukti is, do you experience the body? Do you experience the body? What's the point in this? Usually the experiencer and the experienced are 2 different entities. I experience, by experience I mean I see. I see this brochure. Now this brochure is separate from my eyes, which I use to see the brochure. They're 2 different entities. In fact, the only thing that the eyes cannot see are the eyes themselves. They can see everything except the eyes themselves. So what you see is different from the seer. 2 two different entities. What you experience is different from the experiencer. Subject and object are generally different. Now the question is, when you look at your body, can you experience it? Yes, I can see it. I can touch it. If it's very hot and humid, you can even smell it. And you can taste it, hear it. All the five senses operate very well on the body. The body is an object to all of our senses. Body is an object. I am the subject. I am the experiencer. The body is experienced. Subject, object. Being experiencer and experience, seer and the seen, they must be different. You, whatever you are, and the body which you experience, you must be different in some sense. Otherwise, you could not see the body as an object. We clearly see it as an object. In Sanskrit, drashta drishya, literally seer and seen. But seeing does not mean only the eyes, all the senses. The body is an object to all the senses. You can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. That being so, the body is an object. You are the subject. You are the seer. The body is seen. The two must be different. Whatever you are, you're not the body. You are the experiencer of the body. Third, one more yukti. Yukti these are like little scalpels, which gently separate you from the body. It's sort of scraping you out of the body. The third one is subtle, is even more subtle than these ones, but very interesting. You are conscious. The body is not conscious. In Sanskrit, chetana jada. What do I mean by this? None of this is theoretical. We are inviting you, the teacher invites you again and again to take a look right now and see whether it is right or not. Notice that when you are aware of when you see the body, this is related to the second point, when you see the body, on which side is consciousness? Am I conscious of the body or is the body conscious of me? What do you think? When you look at the hand, when you look at your own hand, do you feel I am looking at the hand or do you feel that the hand is looking at me? That would be weird if the hand says hello. Clearly, I am aware of the hand. Awareness is on my side. I am aware of the hand. You would say so. The same thing applies to the other hand, to the feet and to the belly and the head and the entire body, which is a collection of parts. I am aware of those parts. I am aware of the body as a whole. The body is not aware of me. Hence, consciousness is on my side, not on the side of the body. So, I am Chetana in Sanskrit and the body is Jada. Jada means insentient. So, body is insentient. Body appears to be sentient because I am present in it. I lend consciousness to the body. But I am conscious of the body. Consciousness is on my side, Chetana Jada. All right, these are enough to be going on with. 3 pointers to show that I am not the body. The first one, nirvikara savikara, changing, unchanging. Hence, I cannot be the body. The second one, drashta drishya, seer and seen. Hence, I cannot be the body. The third one, chetana jada, conscious and insentient, sentient, insentient. Hence, I cannot be the body. Remember, who is sentient and who is insentient? I am sentient and the body is insentient. You are sentient and the body is insentient. You are the seer, body is the seen. You are the unchanging, the body is changing. It's a big thing that we are saying. The moment you say this, then notice the result of that, the implication. Aging belongs to whom? To the body, not to you. Not to the unchanging, experiencing, conscious entity which you are. Rather, the body which ages in your light, in your experience. Physical disease belongs to the body, the moment you say physical. Attributes, old, young, tall, short, skinny, fat, whatever. Body, not you. So all of these things, they belong to the body and I am the experiencer thereof, the subject thereof. What am I? Clearly, I am something here. If I am not the body, I am something subtler than the body, inner to the body. In Sanskrit, Pratyak, sukshma, subtle, pratyak, inward. What is inward? The Upanishad says, Anyo antaratma pranamayaha. The Atman, the self, is subtler, inward, and it is a very systematic development. What is subtler than the body? Said, catch hold of the breath. Am I not literally the breath, but the life forces, the vital forces, the physiological forces which we call physiology, which sustains the living body? Am I life? I am not the physical body, all right, but am I life in this body? So am I life? And the same yukti can be applied. The three things I said, changing, unchanging. Does the prana change? Yes, it does. Sometimes you feel healthy, sometimes you feel sick, sometimes you feel hungry, sometimes satiated, sometimes you are energetic, sometimes tired. These are the tides of prana surging through the living body. They change. And you are the unchanging experiencer, because don't you say, I who was feeling energetic in the morning, I feel tired now. The same I. The energetic I was not different and the tired I is not different. I am the same person who felt energetic, who feels tired now. Prana has changed. I have not changed. So changing and unchanging, I cannot be the prana. I'm going faster now. You understand the process now? So I cannot be the prana. Second, do you remember the second yukti? Observer and observed. Can you observe the prana? Don't look so puzzled. The entire mindfulness movement will collapse if you say no. The entire mindfulness movement, so popular, especially in the United States today, it depends on whether you can observe the breath or not. You follow the breath, breathing in, I'm aware of it, breathing out, I'm aware. What Vedanta says, you are aware of the breath. Yes. If you are aware of the breath is an object and you are the subject. The breath is the seen, drishya. You are the seer, drashta. The two cannot be the same. You cannot be the prana. You cannot be the breath. Because it is an object, you are the subject. It is the seen, you are the seer. The third yukti, consciousness. On which side is consciousness? You the observer or the breath which is observed? You the observer. Clearly, I am conscious of the breath. I am conscious, sentient, the breath is insentient. I am the observer, the breath is observed. I am the unchanging, the breath or prana in general is changing. Hence, I cannot be prana. Then the Upanishad says, all right, you are not prana. You see how the Upanishad agrees to our proposition and then guides us away from it. You are something inward, pratyak. You are something subtler, sukshma, to the breath also. What's inward? What is inner, subtler, finer? By the way, when I say inner, it does not mean inner in the physical sense, because if you look inside the body physically, what will you find? More body. Blood, all the gooey, sticky, gross stuff inside. You'll still find the body. By inner, I mean psychologically, subjectively inner, subtler, finer, to the core of your subjective being. So subtler than the prana, mind. And the Upanishad says, yes, the mind. You think you are the mind? Yeah, I am the mind. Anyo antaratma manomayaha. The mind is the self. Use the same three yukti. Does the mind change? Yeah, many of you are now like, yeah, boy, does it change. All the time. From the morning till now. How many times sleepy and then awake after a cup of coffee? How many times curious and bored and delighted and irritated? And how many times the mind has changed in the course of not even half a day, quarter of a day, from the morning till now. So the mind changes. And I am the same one who was sleepy, who was alert, who was bored, who was curious, so on. The same subject and a changing mind, nirvikara, savikara. You cannot be the same as the mind. It's a changing thing. Oops. And here. Can you objectify the mind? Can you experience, can the mind be something that is seen? Yes, there's something called introspection. I'm aware of the states of my mind, right? When I look inside, I feel happy. I'm aware that I'm happy. I feel sad. I'm aware that I'm sad. I can't understand what you're saying. I'm aware that I cannot understand that I cannot understand. So all of these, the states of the mind are clearly revealed to me. It's an object. I am the subject. And now one more subtle but very interesting point. We would never think about it unless it's pointed out. Is the mind conscious or are you conscious? Because our common approach is, it's the mind which is conscious. If you say body is not conscious but the mind is conscious, most of us would nod, yeah, that's right. The mind is the conscious thing. In modern consciousness studies, they do not make distinction between consciousness and mind, and they get into all sorts of tangles because of it. But it's very elegant. It's very easy to demonstrate that you, the subject, you are conscious and the mind is not conscious. I'll demonstrate it right now. Follow. Think a thought. I know what's going through your minds. My mind is always full of thoughts. Right now when I'm asking you to think a thought, it's blank. All right, let me suggest a thought. 2 plus 2 is 4, or A, B, C, D, anything. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now hold on to that thought. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now ask yourself this question. Is 2 plus 2, 4 aware of me, or am I aware of 2 plus 2, 4? The thought 2 plus 2, 4, clearly inside you, look into your experience. You are aware. You are the one thinking 2 plus 2, 4. 2 plus 2, 4 is not thinking you. Clearly not. It's impossible. So mind is a series of thoughts, a stream of thoughts, and you are aware of it. It is not aware of you, whatever you are. Hence, the mind is not conscious. You are conscious. Consciousness is on your side. Sentient, insentient. Chit, jara, chetana, jara. Because of these reasons, I am not the mind also. What a tremendous thing I'm saying. If I'm not the body, if I'm not the prana, if I'm not the mind, then I am the experiencer of the body, young, old, skinny, overweight. I am the experiencer of the prana, healthy, sick, whatever. I am the experiencer of the mind, happy, sad, curious, bored, whatever it is. But I am not it. I am not it. It's an object to me. It's an app on your phone. It's a device. It's a subtle thing, very powerful, but it's not me. The implications are tremendous for our internal life actually, right now. But go deeper. Then what am I? And the Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, it makes a distinction between intellect and mind. Intellect and mind are basically the same entity, but based on function. Because we are using intellect, hopefully, to understand all this. Then the Upanishad says, are you intellect? Are you intelligence? In Sanskrit, buddhi. And we think, all right, I am intelligence. Anyantaratma vijnanamaya. And it goes on like that. You can use the same 3 yuktis. Does the intellect change? Yes, it does. I'm trying to understand a math problem, and then I understand it. It changed. Can you observe the intellect? Yes, you can. Are you conscious or is the intellect conscious? Applying the same technique, you will see I am conscious of the intellect. So I cannot be the intellect. And the Upanishad goes one more step deeper, beyond the intellect. Please follow in your own experience. If you try to go beyond the intellect, you will hit a blank wall. Blankness, nothing. Body, prana, mind, intellect. Try to go beyond that blankness. That blankness which we experience in deep sleep. The Upanishad calls it Anandamaya, the sheath of bliss, for certain reasons. Are you that? The question is that. And the same 3 yukti will apply. That comes and goes, changing, you are unchanging. That is observed, you are the observer, because it's an experienced fact. And that consciousness is on your side, not on the side of that blankness. Hence, for these reasons, you cannot be that blankness, that Anandamaya, so-called Anandamaya. I am not the 5 sheets. Whatever, look what the Upanishad has done. What do you think you are? I said, I'm the body. Showed me I'm not the body. 3 reasons. I said, I'm the life in the body. Showed me that I'm not the life in the body. It's there, but I'm not it. I'm the mind. It showed me that I'm not the mind. I'm the intellect. It showed me that I'm not the intellect. Beyond the intellect, a blankness. I'm not that either. Having showed me whatever candidate I put forward, this is who I am. The Upanishad shows me I'm not these. And having shown me all the nesting dolls have been taken out, now we are waiting. The Upanishad is going to pull out the final one and show me that I am the Atman, pure bliss consciousness. Then the problem will be over, I'll be enlightened and walk out. And the Upanishad keeps quiet. Look at the technique of teaching. Here is the beauty. When usually we teach Vedanta in classrooms, what we do is we say it's not the physical body, it's not the vital body, it's not the mental body or the intellectual body or the bliss body, and beyond the 5 bodies is the Atman, and we draw a diagram or something. That's a wrong way of approaching it. You are actually ruining the chances of enlightenment. You're giving them a scheme, a very nice scheme, but it's not the way it is approached. The original Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, it stops at the Anandamaya, leading to all sorts of philosophical problems there, but it stops there. Promise to show you the real self, Atman. Here is where the beauty, the pedagogical beauty of it comes out, the elegance of the technique, and it stops there, doesn't say anything more. And immediately you feel, have I been had? Is there no Atman? You led me on, you called me on a beautiful Saturday morning to talk about Advaita Vedanta, and tell me there's nothing there at all. And the teacher says that if there is no Atman, then you wouldn't exist, but you do exist. Look what has happened now. I do exist, I know, I exist. And yet what I thought I was, all of those things I clearly am not. Then what am I? And to illustrate this, a story is brought in. A wonderful story. I'll tell the story and end with that and open it up for questions. The story is brought in at this point, and then you see how it makes sense. The story is the well-known story of the 10 friends who crossed a river. Upanishad does not bring in the story, but Panchadashi, for example, a later Vedanta text, the teacher there brings in the story at this point, and he says, 10 friends crossed a river. After crossing a river, one of them thought that, have we all crossed or did somebody drown? Let's count. And so one of them counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, the 10th person is drowned. Oh my God, the 10th person drowned. And the others say, that can't be right. Let me count. And each one counted in turn. They found only 9 people. And they sat down and started weeping and wailing. Where our friend, the 10th person, is drowned, poor guy. And a wise person walks by and says, why are you crying, my friends? Oh, this is what happened, and there were 10 of us, and now there are only 9. And so the 10th person is drowned. And the wise man asks, he must have seen that there are 10. He asks, how do you know that there are 9? We counted. Then the wise man says, my friends, do not be sad. The 10th person is there. Where? Believe me. You see, the Guru comes, the Upanishad comes, Vedanta comes, religion, spirituality comes and says, there is a solution for the human condition. We say, where? Believe me, I'll show you. The wise man says, believe me, the 10th person is there. Don't cry, relax. I'll show you. Show us. Why don't you count? Oh, we counted. Humor me, count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this man comes and takes his hand and turns it around and says, thou art the 10th. In Sanskrit, Dashamastvamasi, thou art the 10th, 10. And this man goes, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my God, the 10th person is there. The others say, let me try. And they all try it and they find the 10th one. And they're so happy the 10th person has been found. And we may laugh at them, but this is exactly what we are doing when we're searching for who am I? How do you apply it? You apply it like this. You can try it. You apply it like this. The 5 sheets, the subtler and subtler aspects of ourselves, what we thought we were, which we found, notice them and dismiss them. Like we did, because they are changing, I'm unchanging, they are object, I'm subject, they are insentient, I'm sentient. Dismiss them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 9 here, but 5. And then, I am not the physical body, first of all. I am not the breath, subtler, inward. I am not the mind, subtler, inward. I am not the intellect, subtler, inward. The blankness beyond that, I am not that, subtler, inward. There, that last step, it's not an object anymore. It's the real you. You have to metaphorically do this. It can't be taught. You have to catch it yourself. And then the self, as in the Gita it says, with the radiance of 1,000 suns rising in the sky, will be revealed to you, the self by the self, not as an object. You will realize that, and for the first time we will realize we always were this immortal being, always free. This is what is coined into God in religions. But this is our real nature. This is the meaning of that thou art. This is the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. This is the meaning of Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham, I am of the nature of Shiva. We realize that. And that, my friends, is the taste of freedom which Advaita Vedanta wants to give us. I'll stop here. In case you are not yet enlightened, if you still have questions. I know I was supposed to end at 11, but I started at 10:10. So can I take 10 minutes for questions? Okay, questions. And we have a microphone here and a volunteer. Who's going to do the volunteering? Pavani? Yes.
There's a question over there.
Yes, a question over there. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Hi, Swami. Thank you so much for the lecture. I don't think I've graduated to the metaphysical education aspect of it yet. I'm still stuck in the teachings of the Vedanta. So my question has to do with the concept of samsara, karma, and Brahman.
All that's metaphysics. Hold on to the question, but I'll point out one thing. Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta at core, did you notice? It constantly calls us back to our lived experience. Body, is it a concept? It's a lived experience. Breath, is it a concept? Something you experience. Advaita Vedanta at its heart is an analysis of experience, not metaphysical concepts just like that. But anyway, now go on.
So you once spoke about, the concept of karma, people who are, say, miserly in this lifetime will go on to be miserly in another lifetime. So there is some sort of continuity from one lifetime to the other, right? For the layman, that is the soul, right? But you also defined, the concept of Atman and Brahman to be nirgun, to be without quality. Right. So when you are, going from one lifetime to another, what is that thing that continues? If it is, that pure consciousness that goes from one experience to another, how can that have any qualities? How can that have...
True. But just take a look at your own experience and you'll know the answer straight away. What is it that dies at the time of death? We have just talked about 5 layers of the personality, like 5 layers of clothing which you put on. Physical body, vital body, subtle body, that means the vital body and mental body, the intellectual body, and the blankness beyond that. Now, what dies at death? Clearly the first one, physical body, which is burnt or buried or whatever. But there is no proof that the mind, the subtle body, prana, mana, buddhi, that they die. There is no proof of that. I'm making a simple statement, but it's actually pretty stunning. There is a trick which we don't notice. When I'm talking to you or you're talking to me, we have a clear sense of talking to a person, right? We don't have a sense I'm talking to a body. Yet, so I'm talking to you, I mean the person you. You're talking to me, you mean the person me. Yet when I die, we say the person is dead, which basically the body which is dead. You are now referring to me as the body. The person me is no longer accessible to you. Somehow we have taken it that the person is not there anymore. But how do you know that the person is not there? Anyway, to answer your question, the person, which we call the person, the subtle body. The subtle body is a combination of the pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya. And the anandamaya is called the causal body. Atman is beyond all of that. So what happens at death is the physical body is destroyed, as Krishna says, like taking off a suit of old clothes and throwing it away and putting on a suit of new clothes. So we get new physical bodies, but the subtle body continues. So those traits, miserliness or whatever, they are in the subtle body. The mind clearly has qualities. The mind clearly has traits. Each of our minds is different. Different tendencies, thoughts, desires. But the Atman beyond that, the awareness in itself, has no distinguishing quality. So that Atman is the same in all of us. The minds are different. It is the minds which transmigrate, or to be more technically correct, the subtle bodies and causal bodies which transmigrate from lifetime to lifetime. Atman, again, remember, this is Advaita Vedanta. So Atman is ever the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. The two here. Can you tell us your name and ask the question?
Thank you, Swamiji, for the talk. My name is Vasudevan, and actually 6 of us have come from Purdue University.
Oh,
today.
Purdue.
My question is, so you explained about the 5 sheets, but it seems that I have some voluntary control over all these 5. So if I want, I can use my body. If I want, I can use my mind. If I want, I can go to sleep and experience blankness too. So my question is, it seems that the one who is experiencing these 5 sheets is also able to act and control it. So does the Atman act? Because I have read that it is, the Atman of Brahman does not involve an action.
Right. The Atman, the conclusion of Vedanta is Atman is neither a doer nor an experiencer, na karta na bhokta. The Atman, what you feel, I am acting. But that's only in connection to the mind or the prana. I breathe in. But then I'm already connected to mind and intellect where a thought of breathing in comes in. Then I execute it and I feel that I'm breathing in. So all action is possible only when the Atman is identified with, considers itself to be one with body and mind. There's a stage when we realize all activity is in nature and the Atman is just a witness. This is one verse in the Bhagavad Gita which is repeated 3 times. Prakrityeva karmani kriyamanani sarvasha yapashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. This is an answer to your question. You notice that every action is actually done by nature. Here nature means body, brain, all of this, even the mind, the breath, and the witness consciousness. Consciousness just lights it up. So then you realize that consciousness is the non-doer. Atman is non-doer. Even this is not the final stage. This is the Sankhyan stage, an in-between intermediate stage, where you realize your separation from the universe of nature and actions. It's like the light on the stage, which reveals everything. When I'm there and giving a speech, it's revealed by the light. When we are all gone, the stage is empty, it's revealed by the same light. The light doesn't do any of it, but it reveals everything. Similarly, in waking and dreaming, things are going on, and consciousness reveals it. When in deep sleep, nothing is going on, and that nothing going on is also revealed by consciousness. So consciousness in itself does not act, but it reveals all action and the absence of action. And in the state of ignorance, consciousness is identified with action and the absence of action and thinking, I am the doer, I am the non-doer, I'm doing, not doing, all these things, they are superimposed. In Sanskrit, it's called adhyasa, superimposition. In reality, non-doer. Yes.
I don't know if it's a question, as usual, but to me, the essence, what you're pointing to is the infinitude, the unchanging aspect that you're pointing at is infinitude, both of absolute nothing and absolute entirety, the singularity. All of this does not touch Brahman. It is unchanged. Brahman is unchanged, and yet this. And it's this moment, the eternity of this moment, this absolute eternity, it is all, there is no dimension to now. All across the universe, and this is the same moment. There's only this. This moment is eternal. It's unchanging, and it's infinitude. Aware of infinitude infinitely. And I don't know if there's a question in that. But Prakriti, Purusha, if we leave Prakriti and Purusha unresolved, we have two. I'm not totally clear yet how Vedanta resolves that.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. In fact, Swami Sarvapriyananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, in his beautiful masterly biography of Sri Ramakrishna, in one place he comments, what the Buddhists call the void, we call it, the Vedantins, we call it the full, the whole. In fact, what they call the whole, we call the whole. H-O-L-E and W-H-O-L-E. So, the Shunya and the Purna, he uses the word Shunya and Purna. What the Buddhists call Shunya, void, we call the Purnam, the whole, you can call it the infinite. It is true. It's at the same time emptiness itself, and it's also the plenum. It's everything. It is the now, but not the now of the present in a series of past, present, and future. Not that kind of now. Yeah, it's not relative. It is one reality in which time, the relative time passes. It seems to pass. About your last remark, if you still leave it at Prakriti Purusha, it's unresolved, it's still duality. Correct. Sankhya is a strong dualistic system. Consciousness and matter. Two different things interacting. Not Descartes' mind and matter dualism, but a consciousness matter dualism. And mind is also part of matter. How do you know mind is part of matter? What we just did. Is mind an object? Yes. Object is what is called matter in Vedanta. So anything that is an object to you, can you objectify it? Does it appear to you as an object? Then it is matter. So mind is also matter according to Vedanta. Mind and matter together as Prakriti, and consciousness apart from that. A lot of work is going on now. I'm glad to say in New York, NYU for example, David Chalmers is there who has coined the hard problem of consciousness. You'd be delighted to know recently in NYU, maybe the leading department of analytic philosophy in the world, there was a colloquium, the Advaita Vedanta perspective on the hard problem of consciousness. A professor from Australia, she presented the paper there. Not that they bought it, they're a tough crowd. So, but still, that the fact that we are talking about this now, it's a beginning. It's a wonderful time to talk about Vedanta. Just one word here and I'll end because now I'm just running out of time, eating into the time of the next speaker. Mircea Eliade, who was in the University of Chicago, a wonderful writer, professor of religion. He wrote Yoga and Immortality. In that he mentions this dualism of consciousness and nature, Prakriti and Purusha, where Sankhya stops. The Buddha resolves it by concentrating entirely on Prakriti, which is in flux, a changing Prakriti, and that's all. He does not talk at all about Purusha. Keep silent about that. If you realize that everything that you talk about as yourself is just flux, is just Prakriti, you'll be free. Nirvana. And then he says, Shankara does exactly the opposite. He resolves Prakriti back into Purusha, showing that all this changing universe is an appearance in the unchanging consciousness. If you realize that, you'll be free. Both ways it works. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.